Good day or good evening, whatever time it is at the time you're watching this video. Hi, you guys. This one, I'm not even sure where to start with this one. I woke up this morning and the very last thing that I heard in my dream from last night was very loud and very clear. And I immediately got up and wrote it down. What it said was, "Do not fear death, for surely death merely signifies rebirth." Now, I can't ignore the fact that Spirit knew that today is a day that I was going to dedicate to doing readings for this channel. And I was guided to go ahead and pull a couple cards in regards to what this kind of message was that I woke up with. And to my astonishment, these two cards were the ones that came out before I sat down here today to record. The first one is mortification, and the second one was Uranus. I could surely feel the heaviness of this reading, but I can also kind of feel something is trying to burst through, if that makes sense. Push up through the soil, so to speak. So I figured I would just sit down here with you guys and with Spirit with these two cards first and explore exactly what is being said here first and foremost. I do feel that this is not a reading for the faint of heart. There is talk of death and decay and things of that nature. So if that's something that you don't really like to delve into, there's plenty of other videos to watch here on this channel. And we would not be offended at all if you did not want to proceed. But that being said, let's go ahead and dive in here. I should say that in my dream space, when this message came through, there was nothing but darkness. I did not see anything. I was not doing anything specific. I was in kind of like a void space where I was literally just surrounded in dark matter, dark space. There was no light. It was just the void, is what I like to refer to that as. And it was only the words that rang through loud as a bell. Do not fear death, for surely death merely signifies rebirth. And it was a very powerful voice that I heard as well. And as soon as the last word was heard, my eyeballs opened, and it was about 3 minutes before my alarm went off to wake me up for the morning. First, I'm going to go ahead and grab the book and read from the mortification card. And it does stand for decay, death, and decomposition. So there's another factor there that's being added to the equation here. There is that decomposition phase that happens after something organic dies. And this is often kind of overlooked, I feel. It's often not really considered or thought of. And I love the fact that it was being brought up. I'll go ahead and read what it says first. Mortifacto is the great alchemical operation of darkness. What was once composed now decomposes. What was once presentable is now despicable. This stage cannot be avoided. The underworld has taken us into the dark interior of its belly, and here we reside until spring. That part right there caught my attention because if you're in the northern hemisphere, we are in springtime right now. So I thought that was kind of a cool synchronicity there. It goes on to say, through the natural process of decay, we descend into the depths we didn't know existed. The alchemist soon finds mortifacto is a stage of regeneration and sacred power, where the soil is fertile and rich, offering nourishment for tomorrow. This stage cannot be rushed. The darkness must have time to do its work, to dismantle and to loosen, to free us from old scripts and stories. As we learn to surrender to this great operation, the earth churns and wisdom whispers in the dark. She envelops us with grace and the promise of what's to come. So what really took my mind was the fact that things decomposing in the soil, surrounded by the darkness, in this case of earth, and the decay that happens with it being, not so pretty. And yet it makes the soil fertile for the dawn of tomorrow, basically. It's the space that is necessary in order for things to grow in the future, is where my mind went here with this card. And these are things that are not to be feared, but to be embraced, with the knowing that what was once not possible becomes possible through the process of death and decay and fertility and growth. That's where my mind went with this. And so when I had opened up the book to read what Uranus said, it kind of confirmed that thought process for me. And I'll go ahead and flip over to that right now. And this is why that thought process was confirmed here. It says, when Uranus strikes, we are in for a surprise. Not in the outer world, but in ourselves. What wasn't possible before is possible now. Because you see, I know death to be basically an exchange of energy. Taking the consciousness out of the equation here, when an organic matter ceases to exist consciously anymore, the vessel, the vehicle, the organic material that was used for the consciousness then ends up returning to the earth, essentially, and decomposes, and there's energy within that, and energy can never be completely snuffed out. There can only be an exchange there, an exchange of energy, if that makes sense. And so what was once serving a purpose as a vessel is now becoming decomposed, and the energy is then utilized in order to make things grow, if that makes sense. So that's why my thought process went to what wasn't once possible, because the energy was being used as something else, is now possible because it's like a return to the earth and a growing anew. So I'll go ahead and read the rest of what Uranus says here in the book. I'll start at the top with that sentence there. What wasn't possible before is possible now, thanks to Uranus and its ability to shatter our perceptions. This shift in perspective or identity, or in this case, a shift in, energy, like death comes to the body and then the body transforms into something else. This shift in perspective or identity brings newfound freedom and opens up dormant energy. Just like what this card was talking about here, going to the depths that didn't that wasn't realized were there before. Opening up dormant energy. It goes on to say, for an alchemist, this may be experienced as a long-awaited aha moment or a stroke of genius. So being applied kind of like psychologically here and spiritually here, this is like the profound moment when great ideas strike and great awakenings happen. Goes on to say, inventions and innovations are born under Uranus energy. This card may also appear to show us what is particularly unique about ourselves or another. A seemingly random or idiosyncratic quality may end up being the secret ingredient needed in the laboratory. The alchemist knows this radical energy isn't sustainable, and so the work is to show up each day whether or not Uranus strikes. And where my mind goes with that is that we never know when this kind of like aha moment is going to hit us. And knowing this, we then need to show up on a daily basis for ourselves in order to allow the time when Uranus strikes. Because if we didn't, then it wouldn't happen, right? On a quantum level. It also says in the side note on this card how Uranus relates to the story of Prometheus. And it asks a question that says, in what instances have you been Prometheus-like? So to those of you who are not familiar with Prometheus, Prometheus was a titan who had stolen the fire from the gods and brought it to humanity. And he was punished by Zeus and chained to a cliffside. And every evening or every day, this eagle would come down and eat his liver. It's quite gruesome. But that was his punishment because he was not to share the fire, the wisdom, the technology of the gods with the humans. And until Heracles came along and killed the eagle and broke the chains that binded Prometheus, he was supposed to hang there for eternity and have this continual sufferance each and every single day because Prometheus, his liver would grow back after it got eaten because he was immortal. And so it was just like this ongoing gruesome punishment until Heracles came along and freed him so that he can continue enlightening humanity, basically. That's the basic gist of it. And so this card is asking the collective to consider moments of time when you had acted in a Prometheus-like way and bringing this sort of fire to humanity that was against the gods that wanted to control the population here. And in doing this kind of work here, there is a lot of proverbial death and decay that is going to be witnessed. And this voice that came through my dream was really just trying to reiterate the letting go of the fear of this happening. I truly feel like, especially because I had been feeling, I'm going to get a little vulnerable here, I think, and kind of share my humanistic experience here at this time on this planet. And things have been really getting very dark, you know, and I know that I'm not the only one that is feeling this way currently, and things are being witnessed, and being kind of like an enlightened soul, it can take a toll on the human mind, the human part of the mind. And it's almost like there's this grieving process that's happening that really you can't really stop it. You know, like you can't, there's this point where there's nothing you can do. You have to just kind of allow this to unfold because it is necessary for the rebirth and the growth to happen, if that makes sense. And so there's a big time release of fear and kind of like an understanding and a knowing that because of all this proverbial death and decay that is beginning to happen and is going to happen, is going to end up leading to this kind of like Uranus energy where these aha moments are going to truly start springing forth as if it is a beautiful flower that is shooting out of the soil of the earth, coming from the rotting energy that is fertilizing the ground. And I know that sounds super freaking, probably sounds really, it either sounds profound or it sounds just completely wackadoo, but you know what? That's just the way it is. It really is just the way it is. Can't help it. And so there's also that kind of grieving process, and that process where you're like, man, I have to just kind of sit here and allow these things to take place and kind of put my desire on the back burner to be like Prometheus, because I understand that not everybody is meant to wake up, and not everybody is meant to hold this kind of like burning fire within. And that's kind of the aspect that I had been struggling with as of lately, is to being able to kind of take a step back and to allow, you know, the free will of humanity, the choices that each individual is going to make. Because for me, I want this rebirth to happen for every living being out there. But that's not really going to be the case. And so there's that grieving process that I've been trying to kind of hold. It's very much like trying to hold your ground within a giant shitstorm, and knowing that you have a reason to your standing firm, but also having that compassion within your heart for the people that you have to bear witness to, if that makes sense. And I do understand the depth and the weight of today's message, and I'm not going to apologize for it, but I will say that if you had made it this far, thank you. This is all coming out for a reason, and I also understand that Spirit would not bring anything through unless it were necessary. I am going to go ahead and grab some cards out of this deck here because I was inspired by what the Uranus card said about Prometheus, it made me want to reach for my classical mythology oracles. And I figured, what's the harm in pulling a couple more cards here? This is a very different kind of message. Once again, I love the difference that Spirit is bringing to the table. Not very big on the actions, but very big on the message part. And I appreciate it. Thank you, Spirit. They're telling me that there is one more. No, there's two more. All right. Let's see what we got here. We've got the Midas touch. Reversal of fortune, wealth, and prosperity. Reversal of fortune. This card lightly speaks about the opposites as well. And I can't help but go there here with this message. The fact that there were so many and yet so little. I'm talking about the 1%ing here, the 1%. I'm talking about the 1% that is widely known globally. And sorry, I just got distracted by this big, beautiful hawk that's flying outside. It just seemed to like rise up right into my viewpoint here as I'm saying this. But there, with the reversal of fortune, you know, there's a lot that had been gained by these 1%ers, and very evilly so, very darkly so, very corruptedly. And these are the things that are going to become death and decayed in this kind of regard here. And it's going to cause a lot of change as well. And the change, the outcome of the change is not necessarily going to come forth quickly, because the unraveling of what has been in place for so long is going to take quite some time to unravel and to bring decomposition to, in order to kind of flip the coin, so to speak. But this is speaking of just that, of what once was not capable of being had is going to become capable of having, so to speak. Very much like what this Uranus card speaks about as well. And now we have Icarus, overambitious, downfall, disappointment. That's exactly what's going to end up coming to the dark forces, as I like to speak of it as. These are the things that we are going to bear witness to. We are going to start seeing the downfall. We are going to start seeing the disappointment on the faces of those whose ways are going to begin to die off and meet this kind of voidance, this kind of stage where they're going to begin to decompose. And I know this all sounds very philosophical, and I feel that Spirit is bringing it out this way for a very potent reason as well. Because this kind of stuff, usually you have to be very careful with how you're speaking about it. And so that's why I feel like Spirit is bringing this out in a very philosophical way. Because it can be taken and interpreted in many different ways. Now we have action, punishment, voyeurism. curiosity. And once again, we have that word, downfall. We are witnessing the beginnings of a downfall. And I have to get something to cover this last one with. We have echo. Try to get to focus. Pining, disappearing, the vanishing self. Things are going to begin to be wiped off, to be smeared. And the more this downfall starts happening, the more pining these individuals are going to be doing as well. This clearly speaks to me about what is happening on a global level right now with the ones that are in control, that are soon to meet their demise and to be disappeared. And this is the very thing that they are pining to stop. But the coin is going to be flipped no matter what, with this Midas touch being the first card to come out. It is going to be a success. We are going to witness much decay, much death of the old, so that the new can burst through. And with that, I'm going to end this one with the very same saying that came through my dream space before I started recording this message. Do not fear death, for surely death merely signifies rebirth. Thank you all so much if you made it to the end of this one. I truly appreciate it from my own human bottom heart. This has really kind of helped me also personally, and that is also what Spirit likes to do here on this channel as well. And what I'm taking from all this is I am making the choice to continue to show up on a daily basis for myself and for the collective with my burning fire within and standing firm no matter how forceful the shitstorm gets. And I do know that the faithful watchers of this channel will be doing the same. United, we stand. We are strong. And that goes for globally. That does not delegate or substantiate any one country, any one place on this earth. When I say united we stand, I mean us as a collective, working together to ensure and to see this rebirth, this thing that was once thought to be unobtainable, become and transform into something that is obtainable. This is the process that needs to happen. So thank you, each and every one of you, for being here for this message. And thank you to Spirit as well. Until next time, we love you. Bye.